will not go. I will not go on that very deeply, but there are some vulnerabilities related to buffer overflow, which is actually exploit of a program which is not really cybersecurity safe and didn't go through penetration testing, so good or maybe not at all. And many the middle attack, which is an attack that intercepts and relay messages between two parties who are communicating directly with each other. We have also SQL injection and zero-day exploit, which is a vulnerability in a system or device that has been already disclosed but is not yet patched. So it takes time for the big companies like Microsoft and others to exploit, to know about a vulnerability and make the patch. And this type window size in time actually is an opportunity for hackers to use this time and commit their crimes and get what they want. So the impact of these attacks is that a successful cyber attack can cause major damage to the organization, the systems, as well as to the business reputation and the consumer trust in the technology. And some potential results, if you look on the economic part of it, is financial loss can be damaging the reputational, like the brand, if it's a brand or the company reputation, it can damage them, and of course, legal consequences by the law. So what can be done? When we look on the cybersecurity versus endpoint spending, we look that actually over the years, if you look here, there is an increase in the security from the companies, but it's not, let's say, the security versus the endpoint spending is not so much. There is an increase, but it's not sufficient. And when we look on some of the recent trends from the regulatory initiatives, we can see, for example, that in California, in September 2018, it was a declaration that later on was published that any internet-connected device must be equipped with reasonable security features designed to prevent unauthorized access, modification, or information disclosure. Also, there was a declaration by the UK for practice to consumers of IoT, Internet of Things, and recently the EU declaration where IoT companies will face fines of 15 million euro or 2.5% of the revenues to comply with cybersecurity requirements. And that's lead us to research challenges in this domain. There are really the cybersecurity. I think I was one of the first authors that started to publish papers on the awareness, on the behavior from the social aspect. And when you scan the literature, the academic literature, you can see that there are a lot of challenges and a lot of papers, more and more papers dealing with efficient and usable security, smart systems, with problems related to automation of vehicles, like electric cars, and also facilities in industry, development of evaluation tools for software, hardware, and firmware, and also the automated generation of cybersecurity threats. So there is a lot of, let's say, materials and papers that emerge in the recent years. And one of the examples for that is the dealing with the cloud. One of the trends in cybersecurity that we look on when we work in many applications today, especially after the COVID, we see that we actually work with cloud. The data is not actually resided in our computers, where alternatively it is resided in someone else's computer, which leads also to the understanding that this cloud may not be so secure, may be breached. So I hope you can see what I will show you, a short video about that. It was interesting from my perspective. But let me see if, I don't know if you hear the voice, by the way? Oh no.
Yes, sir, it is audible. Okay. You are audible, sir, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are able to hear.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, sir. You talk. Not
We are able to hear you, sir. Please go on. Dr. Moti, are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Sorry?
Just check.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Switch on. Sound come. Reduce the sound. Dr. Moti,
yes.
We are able to hear you and see you. We are able to see the presentation and hear you properly. Don't worry. Please carry on.
Okay.
Yeah, we have just muted here so that you don't have any noise disturbance.
Okay. So good.
Okay.
Okay. So I tried to show you is like you saw is that there are a lot of threats, and when we look on those breaches, you noticed in the video that there are a lot of breaches, different type of breaches, and when we work on cloud or let's say remote technology, we don't know how it is maintained by other side, but third parties, but we should rely on them, and it's quite not easy for a lot of organizations to know that they may be safe and so on. When we look at the world biggest data breaches, okay, it's very interesting to see this source, which I found in the internet, which shows you the world's biggest data breaches and hacks. And you can see that a lot of organizations such as Facebook, Microsoft, Indian citizens, Capital One, whatever, you can look here, and you can see those issues. For example, if you look on India, in May 2019, it is actually written that there were 275 million records lost, and the discovery of the huge unprotected MongoDB database containing of personal information of Indian citizens, including their education, resume, and current salary. And you can click on that, and of course I can also send it by the chat so you can look on this and get some impression. So the question is actually what is going on in this domain? And one of the things that we look on now today, and it was reported in this article from 2021 by IBM Corporation, which is called Using AI for Security and Securing, you can see the source here, is that in this article, it was actually reported that the future will be AI war. Actually, machines will attack other machines. It will be like the defenders against the attackers, but without human intervention, because we will see that the artificial intelligence powered attacks that are used by machines against those defenders that also try to predict which kind of attack and which kind of bypass of the attack will be used efficiently will be the main issues related to cyber crime and cyber attacks. And that's lead us to understanding. For example, I wanted to give you some taste about some aspect that some of us maybe forgot, which is related to the authenticity of data and the authenticity of actually materials that we encounter with. For example, how do we know that we look on an image and the image is really secured? Usually, image processing for used for vision and also used for having some watermarks, what is called a signature that is actually hidden in the picture, and it's sent from one side to another, which only the two sides know how to make some manipulation on the image and see whether it's authentic or not, revealing the watermark, have failed. And the problem with watermark is that the watermark, for example, should convey much information as possible, but statistically it should be rigid enough not to be changed by other tools. And when I talk about attacks, it's not only attacks for sabotage, computers or technologies, also attacks for revealing or maybe using those tools and system to actually reveal some data which we would like to be secret. I will not go into details, but there are a lot of papers now dealing how to use watermarks as signatures in pictures and how to make them rigid in front of attacks that try to reveal those hidden text or hidden signatures in the pictures. But one of the things I want to let you know is that when we talk about artificial intelligence security, is that we actually, most of the organizations actually rely on their tools for defense. And when we rely on defense tools, how do we know that actually the tools is very, very strong in detecting and also in interpreting the data? Because detection is, we always say detect those attacks. But let's now say that we have a machine that look on this sign, and what it said is stop. But actually, the machine thought that the sign is speed limit, and actually it tells the driver you can speed up because you are below the speed limit. And of course, false detection is a very big issue now in many papers, and practitioners would like to find some solutions for them. Another thing is original and fake data of, let's say, fake images. How do we know that we look on original or fake images? There are a lot of video manipulation tools and also image processing tools that actually used to show that pictures and videos can be changed and very easily, with a lot of not a lot of sophistication. And the deepfake detection challenge today is to provide a large data set of videos and pictures that will actually contain realistic manipulation and try to to evaluate how rigid the methods for the protection of on original data and those that are fake. For example, you can see some issues related to that, like face swapping, we published recently by these authors. You can see some implication related to face synthesis, lip syncing, changing actually what was said, and also the lip to actually make a fake video that's showing you some aspect, but actually what it said by the presenter is another thing. And one of the things that is very interesting is those machines that synthesize person that does not exist in reality. So for example, if you look on this link, you will see that this is a random face generator, okay, which is called "This person does not exist." And what you see is actually an image is composed of different parts of organs from different people, but this is actually not a person that exists in real time. You can see also you can see other pictures and like that. Another aspect and challenge in this cyber domain is what is called cookie consent. Okay, we all know that cookies today are used by many internet sites, and those domains will try to ask our consent. In Europe, for example, there is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Rule, which actually force companies to tell you that they collect data on you when you open their sites, and they would like to get your consent for collecting data, for improving the site, for sending you more precise information for your needs, mainly used for marketing and commercial issues. But what we didn't think of is, how do we know that the consent is only for tracking what you do in the site, or whether it's the more broader, like does do the people from the site also use your voice and your face recognition for web browser security? You see that when there are, for example, in 2020, these authors were checked how whether people agree that their voice and their face will be used by internet sites, and it was quite surprising to see that most of them really agreed for using that for their purposes. The face recognition and voice recognition is also, as mentioned in this paper, big issue now, and many papers try to understand whether the awareness of people for giving this consent is also might be affect their awareness that maybe their identity is in, let's say, in a problem, or might be taken, or might be exploited for different purposes. So that was a kind of a taste of what are the challenges in this domain. And now, in let's say the 10 minutes that I have, I would like to show you two short papers that I published in JCIS related to the cybersecurity awareness, knowledge, and behavior. This is the first one. What we asked is, actually, when we understand now the challenges and the trends in the research domain, we would like to see from the aspect of social sciences, what is actually the level of cybersecurity awareness among different types of netizens. Netizens are internet citizens in different countries. We wanted to see whether there are differences in the cybersecurity awareness among different countries related to their GDP values. So this was the proposed model. Okay, we took actually independent variables, the cyber knowledge, the netizen's country of residence, the cyber awareness. As you see, this is a mediation variable between knowledge and the cyber protection behavior, which is actually the dependent variable. We tested 4 hypotheses, like, for example, that there will be positively connection between cyber knowledge and awareness, and the netizens' country of residence will moderate the connection between cyber knowledge and cybersecurity, and so on. And lastly, that cybersecurity awareness will serve as a mediator between cyber knowledge and cyber protection, means that individuals with greater knowledge, cyber knowledge, will actually exhibit more aware of potential cyber hazards and use more protection behaviors. So we analyzed data from 4 countries, Israel and Slovenia, which are quite, let's say, equal in their GDP values, and Poland and Turkey, which are less quite equal in their GDP values, but the GDP values are less than those than Israel and Slovenia. We made a linear regression stepwise. We delivered a questionnaire for the sample, presented the sample, and the results were as follows. You can see here the dummy variables, the results demonstrate the standard beta coefficient of different type of variables. And what we actually see is that it was quite surprising for me that when you look on the interaction and you look on the awareness, you see that, for example, in Turkey and Poland, there is more, let's say, caution with cybersecurity protection tools rather than using in Israel and Slovenia. And you can also see it here when you look on the different models and you see the interaction values related to those countries. The conclusions of the paper was that interaction for, we actually delivered the questionnaire to students from business. We try to not to deliver it to more, let's say, technological students for from the engineering and socials and the natural sciences. And we reviewed that the interaction for Israeli students were found significant and positive. We found that students with higher knowledge, computer usage, who live in Israel, higher awareness of cyber attacks, their protection behavior was less than other countries. And it was a question. The contrary, in Turkey, we found the opposite. We found less knowledge, but more protection behavior related to cybersecurity. Also, we looked on in Poland, and the interaction was close to significant in the negative direction. That students who live outside of Poland exhibit a higher awareness compared to those in the city. So what was the understanding from this research is that mainly, or the, let's say, the interpretation of the results, that maybe in Israel, which is considered a cyber nation, people actually think that they are, in the social sciences, think that they are more secure, and they don't really care about that. But in countries where there is more, let's say, fear or maybe comfort from revealing information about themselves and the privacy concern, they are more doing it automatically without having the knowledge because they are afraid of doing something that may be not good for them. The second study, which is made in on the challenges in big data, which is also a very big issue in the research, was done through an NLP analysis. And what we wanted to see in this research is to see what are the challenges in the social sciences related to big data and the trends that actually occurs during the recent years, mainly after the COVID pandemic. And as you know, that we heard about Bitcoins, we heard about, we see in Israel and other countries that more banking services and finance services go to online and to applications. And the question is, when we know also that a lot of data is collected by organization, how can we actually, let's say, educate those social sciences students, the next generation, to work in those areas of finance, of economics, and that use data, and to know how to use this data for analytics, and not just to use computer scientists and engineering for these purposes. So the challenges in these areas is that information system technology have already become essential tools in many aspects of our lives. And when you look on two declarations from Cliff Hamby and John Naisbitt, you see that data is the new oil. Data is actually just like crude. It's valuable, but it's undefined. It cannot really be used. And also, what John Naisbitt said, we have for the first time an economy based on key resource information that is not only renewable, but self-generating. Running out of it is not a problem, but growing it is. So there are a lot of challenges in big data. We are capturing more data today. We are using more data. We need processing of data. We are discovering goods from data. However, existing data models are not satisfactory. We use key values, object, entity relationship models, hierarchical models. We have strong challenges also in safety and reliability that we talked before, and scalability. Data is and the availability and scalability of data operation performance does not decay along with the data size growth. We also have management problems, or management challenges related to indexing, partitioning, and flexibility. So what I wanted to show you in the 5 minutes is what was actually my purposes in this study. What I wanted to do is first to explore what is really, whether there's a gap between the need for data, big data scientists, okay, and in those disciplines related to social sciences, and whether the education, the higher education institutions provide the solutions, or let's say the response, the right response by educating those next generation employees to cope with those challenges in the big data. So when you look on students who take at least one basic data science course, you see that they are affiliated to one of the 3 major disciplines: cognitive science, computer science and engineering, data science. Actually, social sciences, very few, mainly from economics and sometimes in statistics. And when you look on the big data in the industry, employees can measure the skills required for candidates or employees in the domain of data sciences using multiple parameters. They look on the ability of their understanding of the data, how they analyze that, learning, they solve problems, and conduct basic research, employing a variety of computational and technological tools for different purposes. And this actually was reported in the literature that there were suggested frameworks proposed for data sciences courses that will involve, especially in the social science, so a conceptualization of data science for creative problem solving in economics courses, in social science courses, information system, hands-on training and scaling of educational practices to meet existing market demands. So the gap actually exists. So I had two questions. First, to look on what are the challenges in the social sciences disciplines related to what is needed in the industry, and which kind of academic training should best answer those gaps in classes, and how to actually provide a solution that will be maybe adopted by a higher education institution, mainly in business administration departments and similar programs. So what I did, I collected data from articles, first to look on the trend, use the orange tool, which is used for data mining, and I built some model for analytics of those papers. You can see the trend of data science and data science challenges during the years. You can see that there is a huge trend in this. Main papers were from education and educational research. And I wanted to also not look on those papers and analyze those abstracts to see that the trends exist, also to see whether I can actually collect data from respondents and to actually validate that what I see in the papers is also what we see in practice by their response. So I had 4 questions. What challenges those students face in data science? How can the educational background help them to overcome the gap? What are the problems in job that those social sciences students, when they are bachelors, face? And why did I also asked those in the questionnaire, why did you choose data scientist job if you are not coming directly from computer science engineering? I had specific hypotheses related to quantitative skills, analytic skills, and technical skills. And you can see here some results, the bachelor educational background. You can see that most of them come from computer science or engineering, very few from economics. Also, this is some of the questions that I asked, and I actually that it was a questionnaire that involved open questions and closed questions, and those open questions were analyzed by Python. I wrote a code to analyze the responses, looked for trends. The sample were 108 people from Israel, and I made some regressions on interception, skills, whatever. What I want to actually show you at the end, which is quite interesting, I also wanted to evaluate some job offers in LinkedIn that were published in the website in Israel, and to see whether there is some, let's say, similarity, or let's say the job description, the requirements from the academic background for the title of the job was in some way or another answers the background of the students. So I took some senior level and entry level job offers. I analyzed those job requirements and the academic background in management and in economics. You see that all type of background is from social sciences. The conclusion of the papers, after I looked on the data, on the correlations, and the analytics of the requirements of those job offers and the background of the candidates, was that the finding point to the importance of the data science analysis for the improvement of decision making. There is still a need to upskill students and employees whose background is the social sciences. Most of them do not have the sufficient knowledge, like analytical skills or solving problems, expertise, and of course using tools such as SQL and others. And the recommendation was to develop data science program focusing on the following items: building courses to enrich the statistical and the mathematical skills, which is quite basic in the social sciences, to train students in the use of data science tools, not just programming. Programming is higher level, but mainly to use not just SPSS and Excel, like Orange and Weka and others, and provide them the improvement programming skills for advanced degrees to conduct research and other assignments. So I think I managed to be on time on this presentation. I thank you for your participation in my presentation. And if you have any questions, I will be delighted to answer. Thank you very much for your participation and for your listening to this presentation. Thank you.
Can we clap again so that he can hear? We will just mute it. I'm sure you are able to hear the applause.
Yeah.
Let me see. I just need to. Are you able to see me as well here or no?
No. See. You see me. Yeah. Now I see you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Moti. I think it was a very, very well-rounded research that you presented to us. You started off by talking about the various challenges around cybersecurity. And yes, we are aware of those challenges that we have in India, definitely. In fact, there are some questions that I must ask you about this. Apart from that, I think it is also the fact that you brought out about was how educational institutions can contribute to skill building in this area. So I would again request the audience to give a big round of applause, considering the whole gamut that you covered. There are a few people who are waiting to ask you questions, but before that, I have some questions written down, and I will ask you those. This is from Professor Dr. Arkot. He is our professor at the MBA school. And I will read it slowly. In a country like India, digital divide is very huge. How to approach to cloud computing, which may not take off without a suitable strategy?
Okay, if to answer that shortly, unless I can take all the conference time, I think that the cloud issue is a very big issue, and I think that it's not just in India; it's in also in other countries. The organization should check. First, it's in two tracks. One track is the country laws that should be legislated, and there should be an enforcement related to how actually protect cloud infrastructure, and what can be done if this if those companies are not well secure those data, because it causes a lot of problems like privacy and others. The other issue related to, besides enforcement and legislation, is that organization can, I think that the cybersecurity officer, the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officers, should also take into account how to build a right strategy to actually know which type of data should be resided in a cloud and which data or sensitive should be resided in on-premise servers. And to understand how to do it correctly, it demands more time, but I can tell you that, for example, in Israel, I have a huge experience in cyber, more than 35 years in different levels, from engineering till education. And I see that the CISO, those people that protect the networks and the data, and so just recently in Israel, it started to take into certification that not anybody that is coming from let's say, employee that comes from discipline of information system, and there was a technical engineer take a course and is now defending the data in the network and becoming the chief security officer. It should be more established, more certified, and of course, those people should take test exams internationally. This is recommended, and then I think this is another route that should accompany the decision of how to actually use wisely the tactic design of how to use the cloud wisely in order not to cause damages intentionally or, of course, unintentionally to the organization. So I don't know if I answered precisely on the question, but I try to give some aspects of what to think about when we think of this question.
Dr. Arcot, are you happy? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Dr. Arcot gives me a thumbs up saying, yes, he understands that part. And I think that's a very valid point, right? You kind of talk about the position of the CISO, and that makes it very important in decision-making all across. There were two other questions, and our Dean School of Management, Dr. Sugant, who is actually the sponsor for this entire event, So he has a question about the initial slide that you showed, and he said the picture you painted about cybersecurity is really scary. In your assessment of data from around the world, is India more vulnerable to security breach than other countries? If so, what can be done by the individual and by the government to mitigate the risk? And now this is a government question, Dr. Moti. So you must bring in some Israel aspects here. Tell us about some good practices.
Okay, I cannot, directly answer the question because I'm not aware on all the data and all the aspects.
Yeah.
But I can tell that I think that cybersecurity is not a problem of one country. It's a problem of many countries. And I think that the collaboration between Israel, India, and other states on cybersecurity transfer of knowledge is one of the keys to accelerate the knowledge and to accelerate the understanding how to cope with the existing threats. However, I must say that always the cyber, from my perspective, always the cyber attackers will develop new tools, and those defenders will be, let's say, one step ahead, because it takes time to reveal those attacks and to mitigate them. Related to India and their position, I know that they had quite a lot of breaches, and I think it's in a decrease, but I really don't know. I really don't have now the details to answer, but if he wants, he can discuss with me after this conference, and maybe we can look on these issues and develop maybe a paper to discuss about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moti. I think that's a great idea, and I think we will definitely follow it up. One last question. This is again around the presentation where you showed about Poland, and there was another country, and you said that when compared with Israel, the readings were very different, and also brings me to another question from Mr. Ram from TCS, Tata Consultancy. He's also here as part of this conference. His question is around the GDPR rules. So how does that GDPR rules and how does this awareness that you brought out in your previous visualization really come together from a cybersecurity point of view?
Okay, this is a very good question. Okay, I must say that I was a month ago, I was in a EU delegation conference in Europe, and there were a lot of discussion about GDPR and those rules. So the awareness exists. So people and companies know that there are GDPR rules. However, that rules exist, but enforcement should be used in order to make those rules efficient. And what was said in those EU delegation is that there's no enough sufficient resources to enforce infringement of GDPR rules. And it's quite disappointing because, companies have a lot of resources and they would like to, in a competition, and especially in the digital, to collect data and to use that. And in order to enforce those infringement of those rules, you need actually budget, sufficient budget and complaints, and to build campaigns of awareness, and to tell those customers that were damaged from infringement of the EU to complain and to do. But when actually people feel that it's only a law, but it's dry law without any enforcement, it leads into a rule that it should be, I think, from my perspective, and also said in the delegation, should be more be in focus. And my perspective on that is that I really hope that in the future, or currently and in the future, more cybersecurity resources, human resources, will be dedicated for this very important issue. It's not just in Europe, it's also the NIST in the US and other countries. And but just to summarize, you know that I heard in the many TED and many lectures and conferences that people said we lost our privacy from long time ago. So if we lost the privacy, we live in an area when privacy is no really exist, because we are recorded everywhere. Our fingerprints, our identity, everything is taken. So you have the GDPR, you have some others, but what does it matter? Does anybody do something with that? I think it's a way to think. It's a thing that those decision makers in governments and mainly in education, maybe our announcement from the educational arena is to say, we think that we should put an eye on this and maybe increase the awareness in the campaigns that should put more resources on that. But it's also a good idea to discover that. So it's another area for cooperation on a paper. So he's more than delighted to discuss with me on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Moti, for answering all those questions with a lot of depth. I would now invite our Dean, Professor Sugant, to share his thoughts and, of course, to thank you as well.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think it was quite enlightening, especially in a country like India, where we find this cyber attacks and cyber security threats are every day we have been, exposed to that. In fact, be it through the social media, even educated people fall prey to cyber security threats, right? And also, I think, India is a country which is growing pretty fast when it comes to the digital transactions and the social media penetration. In fact, in 2016-17, we did not have any digital transaction, whereas in 2022, we have already recorded close to about 40 billion transactions, worth close to about $1 trillion. So that is a kind of digital transaction which is happening through that United Payment Interface, UPI, which is a Government of India sponsored body. So that much of money is getting transacted through the UPI interface. So given that, I think, it is sometimes very scary to look at, what all things can be done I mean, because of the threat perception and things like that. But anyway, I think, I mean, within the limited time of 1 hour, I think, I mean, you were able to clearly elucidate and explain what exactly are the, I mean, different dimensions. And thank you very much. Thank you for accepting our invite and sharing your perspectives. I am sure that, I mean, we look forward to working with you in future as well. So thank you very much, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate the warm greetings. And I really believe that we can do great things together. And we will discuss after this conference. I'm sure we can make some mutual cooperations in research and other academic programs.
Sure.
So thank you very much for everyone. And I'm glad that it was interesting and giving some perspective to think further what can be done in these two amazing areas. Thank you again for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moti. We'll now close the meeting here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.